Hi, I'm Jess. I'm one of the physiotherapists from English National Ballet School. And today in this video, we're going to talk about how we can use exercise to optimize turnout mobility and control. When we talk about turnout in dance, it is important to know where it actually comes from. Turnout mainly comes from the hip joint. And the hip joint is formed by the head of a thigh bone called the femur and a part of the pelvis. And the hip is a ball in a socket joint which allows the leg to rotate outward. And this design is what makes turnout possible. Research shows that around 60% of turnout comes from the hip. The rest may come from the knee and the ankle, but dancers need to be careful because trying to create a turnout by twisting the knee or the ankle can place extra stress on these joints and increase the risk of injury in these areas. For example, some dancers might let their feet gently roll inward. While this may create the illusion of a greater turnout, it can actually compromise the stability of the foot and place additional stress on the lower legs, and then increasing risk of injury. For this reason, we need to find safe, healthy strategies for our turnout. So what does a healthy turnout look like? Healthy turnout comes from a good alignment and control. Standing with the pelvis in a neutral position and using the muscle around the hip to rotate the legs outward allow the turnout to be both functional and safe. As these muscles become stronger and better coordinated, turnout often feel more natural and easier to maintain. It is also important that every dancer body is different. Some dancers might naturally have more turnout than the others, and a neutral pelvis in a dancer can look different to a different dancer as well, and this is completely normal. What matters is how safely a turnout is achieved. In order to find the optimal turnout, first we need to find a neutral pelvis. Justine is standing here in parallel, and then for the pelvis there is the tailbone and also part of pelvis and the hip joint. And Justine can try and tuck in her tailbone and also trying to arch her pelvis and her back to explore how much range there is for her pelvic tilt. And we're going to find the middle point as the neutral point. It is important that we relatively maintain this neutral pelvic position. Now we're going to ask Justine to go into her first position. And by creating that first position, she will be using her muscle around the hip to create that rotation outward from the femur joint, while still maintaining a good neutral pelvis. It's also important to make sure there shouldn't be any rotation coming from the knee nor the ankle, for example, rolling the ankle inward, because this could compromise the stability of the foot. And now we can ask Justine to do a plie. And it's important to make sure in that plie, we're still maintaining a good support from the pelvic and the back of the thigh muscles to maintain a good turnout, while making sure the knee finish all the way down towards the midline between the second and the third toe, and that we can draw a straight line from the hip to the knee and to the toe. Our team have selected a few exercises that can optimize your turnout safely. The first exercise is a pelvic drop over a step, and we're going to have one leg on the step and the other one hanging off the step. You could either be like Millie, holding hands over the hip, or if you need support, you can have this by the bar and have a bar for support. And starting from here, we're going to try and drop the pelvis on the standing leg over the step, and then trying to engage the glutes and then try and lift. It's important that during these exercises, the upper body is standing tall and with the core muscles engaged. And then we should feel the work on the standing leg. This exercise improves pelvic stability and it's improved the control of the pelvis for any single leg ballet work. The second exercise will work on a deep external rotator of the hip for turnout. We're going to start with a forward kneeling position with our hands just underneath our shoulder and the knees underneath the hip. And from there, we can try to bring the knee slightly up off the floor and then try and draw an arc with the knee, turning inward and then outward. And it's important to keep the back straight, and the muscle working should be around here in the hip. And if there is a turning disc available, we may add this underneath the knee to facilitate the rotation movement, and as well as having a resistance band if we want to make this exercise a little bit harder. And inward, going outward. And it's important not to shift the pelvis and then keeping that spine straight. And we can start working this exercise, aiming for 15 seconds to start with, increasing to 30 seconds, and repeat up to 3 sets. Okay. The third exercise is a progression from the 2 previous exercises, and we'll be starting in parallel. And Justin is going to have one leg as a standing leg, and we're making sure that her pelvis is not dropping, and we're actually using the hip muscles and the pelvic muscle to keep the pelvis in control. And her core is also engaged to making sure her torso is lengthened. And from here, her working leg can go into a retirate position while still maintaining that control of the pelvis. This will be relevant to any single leg work in dance and in ballet. Now, we can then progress into turnout position. So her standing leg is going to be a slight turnout while still maintaining the pelvic in control with all the muscle group that we are working on before. And the other leg can then go into a développé position. Her pelvic should not be rotating sideways. It should still face forward. And in order to challenge her a little bit more, I can ask Justine to have a gym ball in between her and a wall. And we're going to start in parallel with the same focus on the standing leg, supporting the pelvis. And then she can work into a slight retirate range and then down slightly. And the focus is trying to use the side core muscles and the deep core muscle down there to support that movements on the working leg. It's important as well to maintain a good upper back posture so that her weight is not shifting. And once Justine masters this exercise, we can get her to do it in turnout. Her standing leg will be in a slight turnout, and her working leg will also open sideways in that turnout position. Now in turnout position, we should feel that deep rotator working there, while the pelvic is still maintaining a good support and control. And then Justine can then try and lift her leg sideways up and down. We can then sustain this exercise for 15 seconds to 30 seconds and up to 3 sets. The next exercise, we work on the turnout endurance while challenging the balance of the dancer. So Justin is here with one of her foot in a comfortable turnout, and the importance is working on that supporting leg with the core engaged and making sure she's engaging with the deep rotator muscles and holding that leg in turnout. And she can then hold the other leg in a coupe position. The dancer should be able to sustain this comfortably for about 15 seconds to 30 seconds. In order to challenge Justin a bit more, I could ask her to try and get her leg to a développé position while still maintaining the supporting leg, pelvic control, and also the core control. It's important not to have a sway back as well, And then we can even work the leg into a lift on à la seconde, and then down. And to make this even more challenging, we can have a bosu with a soft side surface on the top. And Justin is going to demonstrate standing on the bosu on one foot in a comfortable turnout, and then having all the key areas, not having the back swaying backward, having the core engaged, and with the pelvic supported, with the deep rotator muscle engaged, and the pelvic not dropping. She can then try and hold this position for 15 seconds to 30 seconds.